Well guys, after a week of idiots cancelling Russian food, I've got to point out a slippery slope up ahead because it's bloody deranged, or it would be had this government not acted like it has over the past 2 years. In fact, me and others have said how much this so-called Tory government has imitated the sort of policies we all expected from the Corbynated chicken in 2019 if he had won. Well, today we have yet more proof of that relating to this Russia and Ukraine story that is obviously the media's #1 attention. Now, personally, I don't care about Russia like I don't care about Ukraine, France, Germany or anywhere that ain't the UK, to be bloody honest with ya. It's much like the fact I don't care about Russian oligarchs and their riches, or in fact anyone else's for that matter. But what I do take serious issue with, and so should you, is our government trying to confiscate people's shit. As you likely know, the right to people's property is actually enshrined in English law, and let's be honest, the government's not King Henry the bloody Eighth, are they? Boris might wish he is, but he certainly ain't, I can tell you that. He's just a dumb blonde cuck under the thumb of his eco-warrior spunk trumpet wife who's now acting like the Corbynated chicken, like I said. I'm sitting here saying this thanks to the latest move to confiscate property, which should obviously be concerning to everybody like I've said. Even if you support the current media narrative on Ukraine and believe every word the mainstream media tell you, you should still be against this, because if they can do it to them, they can certainly do it to you, sweetheart, let me tell ya. Yes, that nice ass you worked hard for all your life, and all of this can be taken away with no compensation if these lunatics go down this route. As I said, it's literally a slippery slope, and the snake implementing it is none other than the absolute cretin Michael Gove. Though, according to a government source, Boris is behind it and even keen on the idea the absolute tosspot. So yes, if true, Boris Johnson, the so-called Conservative Prime Minister, is keen on taking people's private property because their government did something that they didn't like. You have to just take that in for a moment, especially if you own your own home, because it could be you in future if you question their agenda or just piss them off. In fact, to me, it sounds like that you will own nothing and be happy sort of shit, does it not? But enough of all that, let's actually see what the Telegraph article has to say about this shit show. It headlines Michael Gove accused of Corbyn approach over seizure of oligarchs' lavish UK homes. Whitehall resistance to Housing Secretary's bid to confiscate property without paying compensation. Now obviously, like I said, I don't care about these people, their homes or their money or anything like that, but it's a slippery slope if these tosspots are allowed to do it. Plus, let's be honest, anything that Michael Gove is after, I'm dead set against. It says Michael Gove is taking a Jeremy Corbyn approach in his bid to seize oligarchs' homes without compensation. Government insiders have warned as some inside Whitehall resist proposals to confiscate Russian assets. Because obviously it's bloody demented, and if the civil service are against that, then that really says something, because let's be honest, they're as untrustworthy as the bloody government. It goes on, a government source warned against undermining the right of an individual to own their own property as part of the crackdown on those linked to Vladimir Putin. An ally of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, also warned against any move that infringes on property rights, because he likely owns his own home and knows that it could come back to bite him in the arse if he bloody supports it. It goes on, last week the Telegraph disclosed that Michael Gove was pushing to seize UK lavish homes owned by Putin's allies. It followed independent research that suggested £1.5 billion worth of property has been bought by Russians accused of corruption or links to the Kremlin since 2016. It says here the Housing Secretary is drawing up plans to allow the government to confiscate oligarchs' home without paying them compensation, but the proposals are being resisted within Whitehall by figures who point out that they go much further than traditional sanctions that result in assets being frozen, meaning they cannot be sold or mortgaged and individuals being banned from entering the country. Asset freezes do not involve a change of ownership or confiscation. Yes, because we're not a bloody communist socialist bunch of lunatics who sit there taking people's shit, or at least we shouldn't have been before. Apparently this government wants to change that and go full Jeremy Corbyn, as you're seeing here. It says one government source said you're fiddling with property rights, which are a solemn view of any democratic country, the right of an individual to own their own property. So yep, while calling Putin a dictator and all of this shit, these lunatics want to come along and start taking people's property. Is that what dictators do, or is it not? It goes on, it's the Jeremy Corbyn approach of nationalising industry, requisitioning without compensation. By freezing bank accounts, the government doesn't take control of that cash, it's frozen. Which, yep, is 100% different to what Michael Gove is trying to push here, the absolute tosspot. Like I said, I'm not sticking up for Russians or anything like that. This is just a slippery slope, I've got to tell ya. It goes on, Lord Moylan, a former advisor to Mr Johnson at City Hall, said the Conservative Party is a party of property, adding that property comes with rights. He also warned against an approach assuming that anyone who is rich must have got it stealing or anyone who is Russian must be guilty. He added we need some proof. Yeah, proof has gone out the window now. It's just cancel everything that's Russian, as I said at the beginning. And finally, another government source insisted, obviously property rights are a very basic part of our constitutional norms and therefore any attempt to do anything wouldn't be taken lightly. The source added the Prime Minister is very behind this idea and really keen on it. Which there tells me that Boris Johnson wants to continue with this lunacy and is as much of a tosspot as Michael Gove is in my opinion. Like I said, this is a very slippery slope that could well see you losing your home if you go against the government agenda, which might not even be this government. Imagine Labour get in and you sit there doing something that they don't like, which, let's be honest, could be blowing your fucking nose or something. Those woke tosspots are a step further than the Tories, but let's be honest, the Tories with this shit are not far behind them. Either way, like I said, I don't support the Russians, the oligarchs or their money, their asses or anything like that. These tosspots, just like I said, should never be allowed to have this sort of power or the sort of power they've abused over the past couple of years.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.